Hey everyone, welcome back to another Coffee with Kittl episode. I am here with Ryan. Super excited. He did a challenge with us a couple of weeks ago, so definitely go check out that video, that recap video. I'll link it over there, somewhere over here for you to see up in the cards. But today we're going to talk about mindset specifically. We're going to keep things pretty broad. We're going to talk about this progression that Ryan has had through experience, making money through different methods online, maybe some things design wise, but really just, again, keeping it broad and really, focusing on how to get your mind right, how to keep your emotions in check, maybe things like that when you're starting this kind of online experience and trying to make money, which we all understand. So Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to ask some questions intermittently, but I'm super excited to go into this deep dive. So first of all, how are you? I hope things are okay. Maybe tell everybody how you're doing, and then we'll get right into it.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me on the show, Drew. I appreciate it. And that was a great challenge that we had a couple weeks back. The Paranormal Design Challenge, man. A lot of fun. Yeah. Thank you to everybody that participated again. Yeah, everything's good. I just got back from Denver, so had a little traveling over the weekend.
Nice.
My girlfriend went to college there, so she loves going out there. And I was actually there a month ago for like a fantasy football draft. And while I was there, she was jealous because she didn't get to make that trip. It was just the boys.
Okay.
She had to plan a trip to Denver for us. So it was great though.
Yeah, Denver's awesome. That's where actually my wife and I went on our honeymoon, and we went and hiked basically all over the Rockies. But Denver's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great, man. We might move out there for like a year. We'll see.
Oh wow.
See what a year turns into. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, so back into the swing of things today, and jumping right into this interview. So yeah, this was just something that I like talking about personally. When I'm teaching people how to make money online, and before I even was teaching people how to kind of replicate my approach to making money online, which is heavy on the e-commerce and a complementary approach to making money online through, a lot of like Amazon. And, if you can do it on Amazon, do it on Etsy, do it on eBay. It's kind of what I preach in a nutshell. Sure. But before I was even doing that, I used to teach web development. So I do have a little bit of a teaching background. I taught it at my alma mater in Northern Virginia, this university. So I do love like kind of teaching, and the thing is, when they set the curriculum for you, the first thing you kind of dive into is the subject matter. So if it was web development, we'd go right into maybe a little like history of the internet, or if it's like my e-commerce courses, I do like to give step-by-step kind of instructions. Like I'll say, hey, it's like you're looking over my shoulder, click this, click that. Here's why we do this. Gotcha. But if you joined any of my courses, and I actually made this one available for free, I made this one called just Business Productivity Hacks. I didn't know what to call it, but in there, it's just mainly mindset. It's just, it's to me like, and I put that very first, like if you join any of my courses, it's the first thing I say. If you have time, please just go through this, spend like 30 minutes going through it, because I think that like as humans, I don't know if any of it's like quantifiable and provable, but I really think that what we allow to like occupy our headspace, we can manifest, not like that in a magical way per se, but like, and if you go to the quantum physics level, I mean, there are some weird things, right? There's some weird stuff that we can quantify that we know is weird. We may not know why, but like the double slit experiment, stuff like that, right? So I don't know, man. More and more in my life, like I started buying into this concept of like what we allow to like occupy our headspace, what we think about, we may manifest in our lives, right?
Sure.
Good or bad. Not in a magic way, but in like just like even a practical sense. Like I think it can be real. So it's like saying, if when I first started my e-commerce journey, right, with no ambition of ever being on YouTube and, sitting down here with Drew and Kittl, back in the day when I started, it was just, hey, I'm working 9 to 5 and I have a second job. This is the life that my parents envisioned for me, where it's like, I'm doing better than most, but I'm working hard for this money. But, the money, I call it, I don't even think of it as money, man. I just call it number in database, because I feel like that's what it is these days. As we move to like a cashless society, I'm just like, yeah, my number in database is high. But like, what is that really affecting my quality of life? And if I'm overworked, it's like, my quality of life is kind of suffering for the increased number in database, right? So I had to, work on balance and stuff like that. But my goal was really just to have a better balance, right? Like the passive income journey stemmed from me not wanting to go straight from a 9 to 5 to another 3 or 4 hour job. Like I would teach 3 web development courses per semester, and it adds up. So I started thinking about making money online. Like that was what I was thinking about actively. Like if I went to the gym a lot of times, that'd be on my mind. If I'm just commuting to and from work, like any of these little breaks, you know, where you're not straining your mind mentally for whatever you do for a living, maybe let's say, that was on my mind. You know, if people wanted to chat with me, like I'm catching up with friends, family, like it's not, you know, I'm not like I try not to be a boring dude. And I try not to like put my stuff on other people. But if they say what's up, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, nothing, you know, you ask me what's up, I'm gonna tell you what's up. Like I'm thinking about how I'm going to get rich, not working a 9 to 5, right?
Okay.
Like, that's what I want to talk about, you know? So you ask me what's up, I'm gonna give you something. I'm not just gonna say nothing, you know, life's too short and it's too exciting to be like, oh, nothing. Like, what do you mean nothing, man?
I totally get it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like to that's the same way that when someone just asks how you're doing instead, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people will be like, oh, fine, okay. And I try to just throw like, I don't know. And then that gives them like, they have to ask. They're like, what do you mean you don't know? You know what I mean? You kind of get it. You got to give them something, because a lot of people are going to do that kind of like, nothing's going on, or like, what'd you do this week? Same old, you know what I mean?
No, I want to know, you know, I love asking because I want to know. Like, I like to know what other people are up to, you know, what are you thinking about? So. Yeah. So, and one thing I'll say, man, in Denver, everybody's very friendly.
They are. Absolutely.
Yeah. People there, it's like, and almost like they wear their personality, you know, lots of colors and crazy outfits and stuff like that. But it's really cool to see, because I've come from Virginia my whole life. And it's like here, I don't know what it is. Everybody's moving too quickly. Like everybody's on the go, you know.
It's kind of how Raleigh feels like a little bit.
Yeah. So it's not the same vibe. I'll say that much. But anyways, yeah, so it's just something that's been on my mind, you know, and I think that's where it starts. That's what I like to talk about on any chance I get to talk about kind of, hey, like, what do you want? Like in life too, you know, it's not just about passive income, but you know, the money can help, you know, kind of set you free. Like I just got back from the 4-day trip in Denver. Like I wasn't taking those trips when I was working 9 to 5. And everybody who's listening to this that wants to maybe take a trip like that, right? It's like, yeah, you know, it definitely helps to not have that obligation, you know, like there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5 job, especially if you're getting fulfillment out of it and you're passionate about it. But, you know, if you're sacrificing those trips and whatnot, or whatever it is, you know, could be time with, for me, it's like time with my chihuahuas, you know, but like, it'll be kids eventually too. So I like that I don't have the big time, you know, time commitment and stuff like that. And it also allows me to explore other, you know, passions of mine and stuff. But it's like, how do you get there? How do you go from where I was, you know, rather than me telling people that are listening where you are, because I don't know where you are, you know, hopefully you're on your way. Hopefully you're well past the start. But if some of you guys are at the start, it's like, well, for one, just let it, like, set an intention in your mind. Like, hey, this is where I want to be. This is the life I want to live. And let it occupy your headspace a little bit. Like, don't always be caught up in other stuff, you know, because man, there's I just feel like real life has turned into almost like a reality TV show these days. And it's like, it's okay, it's fine. But like, you know, maybe cut back some percentage of like always being engulfed in what, you know, they're telling you about the crazy world we live in, and like scale that back a little bit and spend a little bit of time in your own head, just setting that intention, thinking about it. And then I like to just kind of be very methodical, you know, and maybe it's because of my programming background, man. Like when you learn to program, and it's not just like learn to program, but actually like your brain, I think, switches a little bit when you start understanding like kind of like the modular aspect of programming.
Sure.
The cohesiveness, right? Like you write a function, it stands alone. You can call that function anytime now, right? Like it, you know, I don't know how to explain it for anybody that hasn't sat down and kind of done it, but like it changed how my brain worked and made me a much more methodical person in that I don't know, man. I don't know what it was that made me think like I couldn't do things back in the past. I mean, I didn't doubt myself too much in life, but I'm still like a realist. You know, I've been a realist to a fault, but I realized like, no, a lot of things can be achieved. It's just a question of like, how long is it going to take you to get there? Like what kind of resources is it going to take you to get there? And this is, if we talk about making passive income online, you know, it's like we can break everything down into what are the actual steps involved in getting from where you are to where you want to be. If you haven't started and you want to sell on Amazon merch, let's say, well, you know, you got to sit down, you got to fill out that application. Like that is literally what you must do for it to even be possible to proceed to make money online, you know, passively for the next 10 years,
right,
through Amazon merch, you know. And then we might get a couple, you know, steps down the road and it's like, hey, like, are your designs good enough? And if not, you know, maybe look at Kittl. They're really going to help you put together some nice designs that customers actually want to buy, you know, like these little things, man. But it's that step after step after step, you know, left foot, right foot, chip away little by little every day. If you can't do it daily, just make sure in your head you've set aside time you know, when I first got started, it was Wednesday nights, you know, and it was Amazon FBA. And that was what it was, you know, it was always Wednesday night. Like at a minimum, the bare minimum I ever did, Wednesday night. That's just what it was, you know.
I love that. Yeah, I love that idea. That's great. Yeah.
And it wasn't like someone asked me to do something and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just do. No. Wednesday night's spoken for. I'm not doing something else. It's FBA. Like that's what it is, you know. And it's whatever you need it to be. Every human is different. Everybody's life experience is different. You may, you know, I know a lot of people too. Maybe they may have a family. They may have more obligations. So it's like you got to just make it work for you. That's one of those mantras, by the way. That's like always been in my mind. Make it work for you. I'm telling myself this. You know, because it's not the same for everybody, you know, but you must either make it work. Like, it's like, I hate boiling things down to being binary, but in life, there are literally doers and everybody else. You either got whatever it is done, or you're just in that other category with most people that like maybe you didn't even have the thought, you know, it's just like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be rich. What does that mean though? Right? Like, you know, pick something, you know, it's like, pick something. How'd you get there? Right? Like, you know, and if it's winning the lotto, well, hey, did you buy a lottery ticket? Oh, you didn't? Then what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, go buy a lottery ticket if that's your plan, you know? But
and I like that about the, you know, you're kind of saying Wednesday night, right? There's this dedicated block. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. That's what I struggle with. And some people are night owls. I definitely am. But what I've found is it gets later, you're like, I kind of want to have a drink. And then you're like, I kind of want to watch TV. So, and some, you know, some of my mentors and business coaches and things like that, like, this isn't even anything ground shaking, but they're like, I mean, maybe you should get up earlier. And I'm like, I don't want to get up earlier. But hey, for some people, like, when you get up earlier, maybe that's your block. Like, instead of getting up at 8, you literally get up at 7. You know, you get your coffee, 5-10 minutes, whatever it is you have to do in the morning. And then that's your block to sit down, fill out that application, or fill out the Redbubble, or fill out the Fiverr listing or whatever, you know what I mean? And so you have this designated block. And I've always struggled with blocks of time. So I love that about, like, nope, Wednesday was dedicated. And it could be morning or night, you know, like, do which one is going to be best for your brain, because some people function differently in the morning and some people function and get really inspired at night. And that's probably me. Like, I'll watch some episodes and then it's like 11 and I'm like, shoot, I want to like make something and listen, you know what I mean? So you just got to like figure out what works for you.
Nah, that's so true, man. That's probably where I think like most people in life, whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, that's where they struggle, you know. And it's not, I think everybody struggles. Who isn't out there struggling? Like, I was thinking too, while you were saying that, it's like, if we want to run an ad, like if we want to sell something online and it leads us to running Facebook ads, right? Are we going to just run one ad, or are we going to run like 5 ads, right? We're going to split test. We're going to try different things, because you can quantify all of them and you're going to see that some are going to work better than others. So in life, the root of everything we want to accomplish comes down to like us actually taking action, you know, before you worry about what it is and what we're trying to accomplish and what the steps are. It's like, we must actually take action, right? It's like,
I love that.
That's where I think so much, and I mean, do you ever think about how crazy life is now? Even like than it was 10 years ago, or than it was 10 years before that. Like, everybody used to have time. Now nobody has any time, right? And it's only the squeeze is only going to get worse probably. So it really is like a mind game where we have to do what's best for us and not do the other things that maybe are fun in the short term, but in the long term aren't getting us towards our goal, you know, any closer to our goals.
Yeah, so, no, I like when you were saying that, like, it's just by starting, right? It's just by taking that next step. And that was honestly, oh, my cat's going crazy. Every time I'm on camera, it's like my cat's like, I'm going to scream. But that was one thing. I think I may have mentioned it to you before, but I'm in Sean Cannell's masterclass over at Think Media on YouTube, big YouTuber tech channel and things like that. And again, not anything ground shaking, but he was like, oh yeah, you just have to start, which is what you said. And that's literally how I'm right here representing Kittl on YouTube with you, speaking to you, is because a couple years ago when I was working my 9 to 5, when that 5 o'clock hit, I got out my little Sony ZV-1 and I started my own little YouTube channel. And that's literally, I was like, I'm just going to talk about fonts and whatever. And it was like, I wasn't doing anything ground shaking. And I just started because that's what everybody in the masterclass had paid to kind of like start, right? Sometimes you kind of need that little bit like, shoot, man, I've invested in this, and it gets you motivated to kind of start. And so I started, And then like from there, then you learn about all the little things. Like I did a video, and then you're like, wait, what is affiliate marketing? Like, what even is that? You know? And I just had to start to get a video up talking about books that I like or something. And then it's like, somebody was like, you know, you could just link to those and like people could click on, and I'm like, what? And so there's this little progression of things that all happen from just starting. So I love that. I love the blocked time, and I love the like, I just do it. Like, don't worry so much about it. Maybe like I was super worried, like I don't have the right gear, I don't have the right background, I don't have the right blah blah blah. And I was like, you know what? Who cares? Like,
yeah,
just do it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and I was gonna say too, like, we already said like you're a doer or you're not, right? So just get in the doer club, because everything, all the best things in life stem from the doer side of things, not the not doer. And I was gonna say too, like the ad split testing analogy to me was gonna say, like, when it's life and you're struggling to find the time to get started or to continue, right? Because it's just like left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, chip away little by little.
Sure.
Like you said, man, if it's like you're not getting stuff done at night, try waking up earlier.
Earlier.
Like, try it. Just try it. You know, it's like we leave high school and it's like, I'm an adult now. I'm going to eat ice cream before dinner and I'm not going to, I'm going to stay up late. And it's like, you know, self-discipline though, like just try the other stuff. See how life changes. And if it's not working, it's all good. At least you tried.
Yeah, at least you tried it. Yeah.
So that's one of those things, man. It's like, just get comfortable outside your comfort zone. It's almost like an oxymoron, but for real though, it's the scariest day of my life was probably driving to teach web development at the college level at age 25, because I was like a couple years older, and a lot of times there were people older than me in those classes.
Yeah, for sure,
dude. That's when you really like have to realize, okay, whoa, how did I get here? What am I doing? I had no formal training as a teacher. I was only doing that because I got a master's degree and I was a web developer. And like, they don't care about you having a master's degree. That doesn't pay anything. I was like, why did I do that? That was a waste of money unless I can make it pay. How am I going to make it pay? Okay, now they're going to let me teach because I have it. So anyways, what I learned in that car ride, going from my 9 to 5 to my first time ever teaching, was this thing called imposter syndrome, that voice in your head telling you that, you know, you're not good enough, you're not going to get it done. Let's focus only on what's going wrong, what's going to go wrong. You must like tame that, like literally flip it. You need to go from being your own biggest doubter to your own biggest believer. You know what I mean? Because in life, there's no benefit to self-sabotaging. Like that voice in your head that's imposter syndrome is not doing you any good at all. So instead, flip it. Think only positive thoughts, only how well it's going to go. It may not manifest if it's your first time doing something, but like anything else in life, it only gets easier. You know, like you were talking about starting YouTube, man. My first day on YouTube, I spent 8 hours launching that video, and that was on a weeknight. I had to go to work the next day. It was miserable. I went to bed at like 2 a.m, but I said, I am not going to sleep no matter what.
Until I do it. Until
it's done and it's posted. So I went to bed at like 2:30 or 3 a.m, and that video is still on my YouTube channel, and you can go see it. And it probably sucks, but like, that was it.
That was it. That's how you started.
Yeah. That was it. Like, there wasn't going to be I didn't get it done. In my mind, I'm like, and like you were saying too, sometimes you got to trick yourself into whatever, like, you know, you were talking about a monetary investment to get to where you want to be. Yeah. Dude, I did the same thing with FBA. I paid a coach $2,500, which is a lot of money to anybody.
That's a lot.
But when I did, I said, I will be a successful FBA seller. It was never a question of like, will I make it? It was, no, I will. You know, there's no doubt in my mind. Not that there aren't in real life, like a percent chance that I wouldn't make it, but like, it was not going to be that I didn't show up and put in the work. And I had somebody that now was going to show me like, hey, if you just do this, or here's how you do this, or here's why you do this, that part was solved. And I know that I'm the type of person that like doesn't quit, you know, it's just like, unless it makes sense to quit, obviously. I mean, but different story.
Yeah. No. And imposter syndrome, man, that's like, that's gonna cause a lot of, especially in the design space, right? Because everything's so critical, even though it doesn't have to be. But like, and I had that as well with YouTube, and kind of same thing you were saying is like, you know, it would physically stop me from making a video or talking about showing off a book or drawing something that I would whatever, because I'm like, who am I to like show this video of me drawing in this way or this technique when I like, one, am not that good. And like, you know what I mean? And so like, I kind of came up with this, like you were saying, kind of flip it. I've probably heard it somewhere else, but I kind of came up with this concept of like permission granted. And so what I mean by that is like, if someone, doesn't matter if the video sucks or not, if someone clicks on my video, they're giving me permission to speak to them. If someone registered for your web design class, they're giving you permission to speak to them. So it's almost like, and I've told a couple people about it and they're like, wow, okay, I guess you're right. Like, you know what I mean? Somebody clicks on my ad, they're giving me permission. They're going to stop scrolling and watch. They're giving me permission to speak to them. And so it was like, it's kind of helped me, is like, you know what? Maybe I'm not the best at this, or maybe there's like a million other better ways to do it, but they clicked on mine. And so I'm going to be myself and the fullest with, they've given me permission to speak to them. If they want to leave, that's fine. Right. It's still there. And so I don't know, it's not the end all be all, but it's one way that I kind of try to tackle imposter syndrome, is like, hey, it's okay. Let's calm down. Let's get ready. And then realize that if someone's going to watch it, or if someone's going to register for your class or whatever, like, yeah, no, they're giving you permission to like speak to them.
Absolutely. No, man, it's true. And it's weird too, because then it always reminds me of like mainstream television, which I'm not going to go on any rants about, but it's like, you know, it's kind of like you get permission to be in their room, and like, you know, and a lot of people look at it and they're like not thinking about the fact that like, oh, it's just somebody in a studio reading a script, blah, 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 you know, but like, yeah, like we're doing it on our own, you know, we're not putting out, you know, we talk with normal voice cadence. We don't talk like this, over to you, you know, and we're not like overproducing things and reading scripts. Like, we're just being ourselves. Like, it's a different medium. I mean, it's the same, it's video, but like, it's like, hey, this is more of an informal thing where we can be ourselves, you know, and if they like our delivery and they want to see the next video, they can click that button and show up. And that's a beautiful thing. I love the choice, you know, and like, I don't know, man, I got addicted to, you know, I mean, I was like everybody else, man. I like to do like fun things, short-term thinking, nothing wrong with that. Like, when I was young, it was cool. And then I was like, okay, I'm an adult now. I want to have a family eventually. I want to like have the freedom to travel. So how am I going to get there? You know? And then I had to literally shift my mind from being like a computer game addict that cared about dominating the opponent in the computer game, but like nobody in life really cares about that, right?
Sure,
unless you're like, of course, now it's like, oh yeah,
Twitch or streamer.
Twitch
Yeah.
If only, man, if only. But if only back in the day, like if only I was smart enough to be doing that.
Start early, yeah.
But then I had to kind of transition to like really falling in love with learning skills that were gonna like help me be a more productive member of society and make a little bit of, you know, more. It's not about more money, because it sounds like it's comparing, but it's like to get me to where I want to be, as opposed to the easiest path, I would say, you know, because I've got, you know, plenty of people in my life that I know that like they're completely fine with where they're at, and they never really tried that hard. Like, they're just kind of doing what they, you know, they just kind of like the path kind of let it rolled itself out, and they just kind of do it. And their other interests are whatever they are. They may not be like monetized interests, but as long as you're happy, as long as you're fulfilled when your head hits the pillow at the end of the night, I think that's what matters, at least to me. I'm 33, man. So what do I even know, you know? But I'm just saying, like, right now in my life, like, that's what I chase. I chase that sense of fulfillment, you know? Like, I don't ever have trouble going to sleep, because every day it's like my brain is working overtime, and I also work out pretty much every day, just because I, you know, and that's another thing, quick tangent we could go down, is like, we talked about split testing your days to find a, you know, time to sit down and be productive, but also like how productive I am depends. And then this is just me, I'm speaking in first person here. I can't tell you what's gonna work for you, to the listeners, but like, split test how you live your life in the sense of how much sleep you get, less versus more, what time you wake up, you know, early, late. Do you eat breakfast? I used to think you had to eat breakfast. I never questioned anything, right? Like, I was just doing what I thought you were supposed to do. Then I started realizing, like, wait a second, if I fast a little bit, not crazy, but just don't eat breakfast till like 11 or 12, as opposed to first thing. Me personally, like, I get clarity of thought. Like, my mornings are already probably the most productive time, but it's like, it's more productive. I don't know what percent, it's more productive.
Yeah.
I exercise in the mornings because it gets the blood flowing. It wakes me up. It gets me like alive, man. Like, this is just what's working for me, you know? And I know not everybody can exercise in the mornings. It might, for some people, it might be before work at like 5 a.m. But if that, it's like, just try it. You know, I used to think, well, you can't do that, you're not a morning person. But it's like, no, I just never tried, you know? And if I did try, it's like, oh, I tried, you know, 3 days in a row. I didn't try 3 weeks in a row. You know?
I can't remember what the saying is, but it takes like some odd amount of number to make it a habit.
Something,
I think.
A month maybe.
Something. I'm sure it's different for you know, the gym as something that's you're exerting physical energy. But I think generally it's like 7 times consistently to like start making it a habit. But if you break that down to 2 times a week, two, then you should be in a good rhythm, right? Just I started with just like Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm gonna go after lunch. I have a light lunch. Come back and eat something light again, and it generally works. I mean, traveling, of course, kind of messes it up. I don't like go work out when I'm traveling or something, but like, yeah, definitely. If you can commit to trying something enough, I think that's another really good key point is like, don't try it once or twice. Like you have to give it a go. You know what I mean? It's like we were saying about waking up early. Like don't wake up once and be like, oh, I hate it. Well, duh. Right. Like try it for like a couple of times a week, or like 2 times a week. You wake up early, and those are the days you also go to the gym or something like that. You know what I mean? I like the point about testing out like not only your business and or income decisions, but like you're also testing out like the way in which you function during the day.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, I had to basically figure out ways to be more productive. You know, I was spread real thin. Like I didn't quit my day job until it was basically, I didn't even quit because most people would think like, oh, you quit because you were making enough money. It's like, no, I actually just quit because the job was trying to transition me into a different role without replacing my initial role. So they're trying to squeeze me for like twice. And this is already after, you know, I used to have like 3 developers, then it became 2, then it became 1. And you know what I mean? So I was just getting,
that kind of happens.
Yeah. So they were getting away with too much, and it was just the right time. So it ended up being like February of 2020. The funny thing is I would have definitely kept my job another year and just worked from home had the like COVID, you know, stuff happened a month later, or a month earlier, I should say.
Gotcha.
You know? But I was, I had a short commute, and I still wasn't, dude, that's another thing, man. If you guys want a really quick tangent, like if you commute to and from work, like I moved close to where I lived, right? So let's just say my commute, it was probably 20 minutes a day.
Where you work? Is that what you mean?
I bought a house close to where I used to work.
Okay, got it.
Where I used to work the 9 to 5, right? Because my brain's weird, man. Like analytical, in an analytical way. So let's say my commute was 20 minutes a day, each day. Or no, I won't even do the math. I'll just say, I summarized it this way. They tried to force us to park underground, right? So without even going in the 20 minutes, let's just go, if you parked underground, it added an extra 5 minutes each day. 5 to get down, like 5 to drive down and then walk up, and then 5 to walk down, drive out. So that's 10 minutes a day when you work. I just was doing the math the other day because I was like, I'm a crazy person. I was having this conversation in Denver with my girlfriend. I was like, man, this is what I used to think about, this crazy stuff. And I was like, out of every year, it was like 40 hours of your life every year is dedicated solely to that parking garage.
Wow.
If you do the math, 5 down, 5 up for every day that you work. It was 40 hours of your life is now, that's just the parking garage. It's not factoring in however far you had to drive both ways.
Yeah.
And I just would think like that because that's the reality of your life. That's actually how you spend your time. People are like, what do you do? It's like, well, what you actually do is like you drive to work, then you spend time at work, then you drive back. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like that's not when someone says, hey, what's up? Is that what you're going to say? You're going to say, oh, this is what's up. I've been spending X number of hours driving, X number of hours going into the parking garage. But like, it's like no one thinks about it, but that's really what's happening, you know? And if you can optimize your life, like not only to maybe work remotely, because then you don't have to spend all that extra time in the car, or if you're going to be in the car, like do whatever it is you want to do to keep your sanity. Like I would call my family, call my grandma, or listen to like a lot of business podcasts just to keep my brain working, you know? That was what was important to me. So I'm not trying to judge anybody that doesn't do that. I know I sound like a crazy person right now, but like that's how I got here. For real. It was not just by chance. Like I didn't luck into it. This was I set an intent and then I followed through, you know?
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I didn't have like a parking garage that I had to go under and like walk up for my 9 to 5, but there's definitely some similarities about, I know a lot of companies are now moving to flex, which I think is great. So not only working from home, at least most of the week, but also kind of using these flex hours as in like, they're starting to realize some people work better in the afternoon, some people work better in the morning, some people, all that kind of stuff. But it can definitely get tiresome if you do add up that kind of natural, 9 to 5, you drive there, drive back. I would always think about it, maybe not as crazy as you did, but I would always be like, I really just could do all of this way more efficiently at home without ever having to leave. And I can do my laundry and all this other stuff and probably still get done earlier in the day, And so it's just like all these little things you start thinking about, which incentivize you to start with this goal, right? Start with this initiative, which is kind of how you are where you are now, right?
Yeah, it's just like it's like if you want something in life, like I was saying, how everything just seems like it's moving so quickly and it's so hard to find time these days. And it's probably only going to get, crazier. Let's be real. If we're projecting forward, the trend typically continues. It's like if you just sit down and say, where does the time go? I'm not trying to be like in a negative light or critiquing anybody. I'm just saying, like, I would always think, like, where does the time go? Because I had 2 jobs and I'm trying to start my real life job, which is me working for myself, doing what I do now, which was honestly a huge unknown. Like, I never had any ambition of doing YouTube, but it was just a complementary way of making money, which was, again, just me applying logic to the whole situation of like, hey, like if I make money online and I'm successful, and then I realize people are talking about it on YouTube, and then it's an extra income stream, like, why not do that? And so that's really what kind of got me there. But yeah, I had to figure out, like, how am I spending my time every day? Because I need more time. Like, that's really what's stopping me, or not stopping me, let's just say slowing me down from getting where I really want to be. And we don't need to have like a 5-hour conversation, but yeah, like, you can literally, even, it's like, I want to make money online, right? Like, it's not lost on me that I was working as a web developer, so I was at a computer all day. It also wasn't coincidence that I was a web developer, because I was a computer game nerd my whole life. So I had a lot of computer skills, leads me to getting a computer job, right? And then at my computer job, I'm at a computer, so I can work on my passive income stuff on the side, because I was, there's definitely web developers. I'll speak to what I know. They come in many shapes, sizes, forms, whatever you want to say. It's not all equal. Like, you can give somebody, you can give a room of 100 web developers the same task, and most likely the person who completes it first is the best web developer. And you're like, why? They rushed. It's like, yeah, because like there's elegance in writing as little code as possible, and actually web pages load faster and stuff like that. And so anyways, like, so through repetition and intent, I got really good at being a web developer, and that freed up a whole lot of time that I could spend doing whatever I wanted, right? I could go spend like on ESPN just reading articles about football. I love football, or spend a little time, working on stuff on the side, right? Like, before I had any ambition of doing the passive income stuff, I started a web development kind of company, like web development, web hosting, because it was just complimentary to me. Like, I was already working as a web developer. People know I'm a web developer, so they want their websites done. So I made my first company just doing web development, and then
absolutely.
And it's just like it was complimentary. It made sense. And the point I was trying to make is that, like, if you're not a person who sits at a computer all day, but you want to make money online on your side hobbies, I get it. Like, you're not at the same level playing field as I was, because I sat there all day at work and at home. But while I was at work, I would call it the double down. You know what I mean? Like, I'm literally getting paid double. I'm getting paid the 9-to-5 salary, and I'm doing everything they asked me to do, doing a great job. But I'm also like having plenty of free time, because these tasks don't have to be hard. They're as hard as you make them. And, again, like, focus. Like, I was good at web development before anybody paid me to be a web developer. I just really liked it initially. I started a website in college that to this day it's not making me rich by any sense, but like, it makes me a lot of money just because it's ranking really well on Google. People will email me all the time and say, hey, I want to put a link on this page. What do you charge? Little things like that. 10 seconds of work make so stuff like that. You never know where life's going to take you. It's just, that's what I love, though. It's just exciting. And like, what allows me to be a part of all these different things is just that I didn't stop and say, oh, I want to do this, but let me spend 3 months like reading about it. No, I'm going to learn from trying. I'm just going to go for it, And if I miss, what's the downside? If it's a $30,000 investment, okay, maybe I'll slow down. But if it's just, hey, I'm writing code, and web hosting costs me $120 a year, what's the downside? You know what I mean? Like, just go for it. People are like, I don't know, I'm worried about print on demand. I'm like, but print on demand doesn't, like, what are you talking about? Amazon merch, it's free. Amazon,
it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, a month. Etsy, 20 cents a listing. Like, just go for it.
Yeah. And like that, not only that, but like, if you mentioned like being excited, if you're not going to be excited about it, then you're going to have a rough time. You need to get excited about it, and try not to fall into this trap of, like, it's pretty commonly called like the golden handcuffs, right? So when you were talking about being at your 9-to-5, getting your tasks done early, which is a very common developer thing. All my friends at I was also a UI designer. So all my friends that were web developers were finished it in the morning, and they were like doing whatever in the afternoon. Yeah. But you can get into these golden handcuffs, which is you're comfortable, you have a pretty sweet position that's not too terribly hard, and you can spend the rest of your time looking up ESPN articles or recaps or highlights or reels or whatever, because you're like just comfortable with what you have, and you're not really doing anything and prioritizing your time. So if you can switch that into excitement and do all of these other things with your time, make the most use, be productive, things like that, I think what a lot of people will find is they're going to have very similar stories. And a lot of these things don't take like any money to really get started. Like what you're saying. I mean, you could do a personal website, I think, for even less than 120
for sure.
a year. Depends on what you want to do. Obviously, if you want to like set up stuff and sell stuff, it's a little bit more. But like in the grand scheme of a year, and in the grand scheme of your 9-to-5 salary, which is most likely, it's probably pretty small to start a little, your own little website that you can put stuff. Or all of the print on demand things are free, pretty much. I mean, from what I understand, I think they're almost all free. I don't think I've paid for any to start one. So no, I love that. If it's exciting to you, then you are motivated. And when you're motivated, you typically are going to do a better job. Like you said, you're kind of a go-getter. I know a ton of people watching definitely have that kind of vibe. Maybe they are go-getters, but maybe they're struggling with imposter syndrome. So you got to like turn all of this into excitement. You know what I mean?
For sure. And believe in yourself. Like it's weird, man. Cause I would have never thought 10, 15 years ago that mattered. I would just be like, kind of like more of a cold, objective person that just says it just is what it is. But like, I believe that, our minds, I think, do have some, even if it's like not in like some weird metaphysical way, it's just like for real. Yeah. It's like, if you're thinking about something, I just feel like that thing is more likely to have prevalence in your life than all the infinite other things you didn't think about, Yeah,
absolutely. And it goes back to kind of what you were saying is like, what you think about can kind of manifest itself. And it's the same way with what you surround yourself with. Like the things you surround yourself with are going to really kind of determine how you feel and how productive that you're being. So if you're surrounding yourself with like not super productive things, you probably won't be productive. But if you're surrounding yourself with, great and encouraging friends and family and having time to yourself and like, eating well, exercising, blah, 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 you're surrounding yourself with good things, typically like that kind of manifests in a better way. So I totally get that for sure.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself the best chance to succeed is really what it almost seems like. And it's going to be different for everybody. Like for me, my gut, man, I realized like my whole life I lived with bad allergies, but I didn't realize that like it was a lot to do with the food I ate, and I started changing my diet around and I'm like, whoa, no allergies, gone, and just my clarity of thought from avoiding certain foods, and it's not that I don't eat what I want, but a lot of times I'll just save it for dinner time, and then I'm like, cool, I don't have to worry about anything anyways. I'm just going to watch TV and relax after dinner. So just little things like that, man. And to like just kind of bring it back around to print on demand and kind of get closer to wrapping up, like I would say, just being analytical, stepping back, making sense of things with your decision making. Like for instance, I preach that if you want to sell print on demand, for instance, maybe start with the major e-commerce platforms, right? Because we're talking about in the context of making sales. Like I do take one-on-one calls and stuff like that. I just always open with, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? I want to know what your goal is so that we can work backwards from what you're trying to achieve. And it's like, a lot of times it's like, I want to make more sales. And it's like, okay, you want the money, so you want to make more sales. So why don't you start with following the customers to the major e-commerce platforms? Are you on Amazon, the #1 destination? Are you on Etsy? If not the #2, it's up there, right? Number 2 may be variable, but a lot of times, why is it variable? It might be where Google sends them. So I say, well, hey, if people are going straight to Amazon.com, if you're not there, you guarantee 0 sales, right? If people go straight to Etsy.com and you're not there, 0 sales. What if you're on both places and they go to Google? Okay, Google might send them to your listings on either platform, but hey, you've doubled your coverage. Well done. Just simple little, like nothing I said there is crazy. That all makes sense in the context of the, it's 2022. How are people shopping online? This is just us saying, hey, in order to make a sale, we need a customer. We need a buyer. We're the seller. We need the other half of that equation. How do we get in front of those people? And then you can break it down further. Like, what else do they look for? Good images, a title that makes sense so that the algorithm knows to put it in front of the right person. Feedback, all those things. They're all just little parts of the equation, right? And if we want to be successful, we just kind of like over time, not overnight, but over time, do the best job we can do at fulfilling each of those to the best of our ability, whatever that means, right? If it's SEO optimization, if it's just good images that resonate with people, the design aspect. I always say before we even get into like the other stuff, I'm saying, are your designs good enough? I don't know. Well, yeah, it's subjective, but there's a bunch of best practices. You can literally study the best sellers, see what they're doing well, and they're best sellers for a reason. That's what people are buying. So we see like intrinsically what people are looking for when they make purchases. Let's study that. Let's either do it ourselves or, hey, like when you use design applications like Kittl, a lot of times they almost like have the assist for you, right? Whether it's a template or just a drag and drop, easy to use UI, and it assists you. It almost makes it hard to make bad designs. So
it really does.
Yeah. So that's why, I mean, it's a beautiful thing to have options like that. So I'm just saying, make it easy on yourself. Always be stepping back. Like, I think in the education system, it's weird, but like me as a student that transitioned to a teacher, it's like, I went from being the person who was looking and being like, everything there is to know, please teach me, I'll memorize it, to being like, oh, I'm up here and I don't just want to do that stuff. Like, I'll tell you what I need to tell you, the curriculum's set, but I'm going to speak to my real life experience and talk about in the context of what I've experienced as a web developer, actually working through this stuff, and try to make it relatable, try to give you those storylines that suck your attention back in so that you actually kind of pay attention. And just make it your own. I don't know. I forget where I was going with that point, but
no, I get it. I mean, we're all kind of, going back to like, I mean, you really have to believe in yourself, right? And you have to make this actionable, right? You have to kind of reverse engineer, as well as kind of like what you were saying, is like, you can start with your goal and that's great, but trying to jump straight to the goal, one, is going to be super difficult and probably leave you with zero sales. So you kind of got to go backwards. And success leaves clues, right? All of this research is free, pretty much, unless you purchase a class, which is totally a great option and typically not super expensive. But success leaves clues a lot of times. So you can go to those listings, if we're talking about print on demand, check out the best sellers, look at those reviews, look at those designs, look at the keywords, tags, all those things. You can reverse engineer quite well to set yourself up for success.
I would just say real quick too, like what you just said, I so strongly believe in. And it's like, maybe start there where you are doing your own analyzing of the bestsellers before even going to YouTube. Like, I love my YouTube channel. I love everybody that subscribes. I love the community, but I would like literally rather you guys go do it yourself first before coming to, what the YouTube algorithm tells you, the talking head, which it's probably me if it's print on demand. Like, before we tell you what the answer is, like, you know what I mean? I just think it's so much more empowering to be in the driver's seat, making sense of things, So that's one thing I'd really strongly suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. I'm always going to advocate for, being the person in control, like go and do it. You know what I mean? Like go and look and research and find out as much as you need to know, and then come back to these platforms to get that extra little bit that you might not have thought of. That's absolutely 100%.
I love that self-empowerment, man. Just that's because I think like, there's two ways to get to the end goal. And it's like, you can get there from buying my course and me telling you to click next 3 times and fill out the fields. You know what I mean? But it's like, you can also just probably go for it yourself and figure it out. Like that's how I did it for print on demand, not for FBA. For FBA, I had somebody tell me what to do. Sure. But I couldn't figure out FBA though. That was the thing. Like, so I was at that point where I just needed to do it, but like we said too, spending the money switched my brain from thinking, will I, to yes, I will. No
I
matter
need
what.
to do it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we land the plane here, Ryan, thank you so much for just talking through like your own experiences. I think that's super helpful when we can all kind of take a step back or a seat in the back, so people can check out like where people are coming from, and that like they're relatable, and that like people like you aren't just sitting on top of things and like had it all handed to you. You know what I mean? I think that's what people can sometimes get stunted, and it's like, oh, I just wish that, you can sit there and wish and wish and wish and wish, and typically nothing will drop in your lap. I don't think. I've had 1 or 2 cases where like somebody was selling a really nice car and that kind of fell into my lap, but that's like an anomaly. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to make nice big incomes, or if you want to have freedom to travel, or if you want to just do cool print on demand and little pop-up markets and things like that, you can do it. Typically none of those are going to fall in your lap. Like, no one's just going to like hand you an Etsy shop that makes lots of sales, at least not to my knowledge. So like, clearly Ryan and I are both big proponents of like definitely believing in yourself, be a fan of yourself. That's really important. I think imposter syndrome is also a super important topic that we talked about today. And so this has just been a great kind of clarity of mindset, kind of debrief. Hopefully you're having your coffee or your tea today, or wherever time of the day that you're watching this, and had a good time just kind of like listening through these tips. Ryan, is there anything else that you want to say or speak on, anything that's going on for you before we sign off here?
No, I'll just tell one quick aside. Like, I used to be mowing the lawn, in the gym, whatever. If I didn't have music on, I'd listen to this one print on demand podcast, and it just kept me motivated and inspired.
Yep.
You know, they were both more successful than me, the two hosts. And it was called the Merch Minds podcast, which is still around. And I this was when I was like very low tier Amazon merch, maybe not even 100 print on demand sales to my name, but I listened to it religiously. Not even because it was always, they spent the first half of every episode just kind of BSing,
messing
having
around.
fun.
Yeah.
So, but fast forward like 4 years later, and I'm invited to be a guest on the show, and I'm more successful as a print on demand seller than both of them. And that's not any shots at them or whatever. Like they both do other stuff and stuff like that. So I was able to catch up and pass them. But it's just one of those things where it's like, man, anybody listening right now feeling inspired, just, it's possible. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, be a guest on my YouTube channel in a couple of years, telling your success story, pass me, and you know what I mean? Just like believe, you know, like I would listen to their podcast and it was just inspiring. Even when they're just having fun, it's like, you know, they'd still be talking about print on demand and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just believe, man. And just you know, if it's listening to a podcast, then that's what it is, you know, just keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, great tips here. I think just like keeping your focus on being excited, and also just like kind of what we were saying in the beginning, like everything is go, go, go. There's no time for anything these days. Well, like take a step back and try to cut back and like think about how to spend your time, and just relax and try not to take everything super seriously, especially here at the beginning. If you're kind of watching this and you're listening to this and getting motivated, like, yes, keep that excitement, but slow down just a little bit, do the research, and I think that you're going to have an exciting path ahead of you. So, Ryan,
long time horizon. That's like a huge
marathon,
thing.
Not a sprint. A marathon.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You'll get there.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. This was super awesome, even just for me, and hopefully for everyone watching. If you thought so, definitely drop a comment. All the links you need to know about are down in the description to follow Ryan where he is as well. Please don't forget to subscribe to Kittl, because we have tons of interviews just like this coming out, challenge recaps like I mentioned before, and just general knowledge on how to design certain things. So I hope everyone has a great rest of their day or their night, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.